Love this podcast? Support this show through the supporter feature from Acast. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just hit the link in the show description to support now.
Hagopian escaped from a COVID camp. That's no bullshit. He's going to tell you all about it. Share it if you like it. If you don't like it, give me your hate comments. Love that stuff. My guest. I shall unmute in a minute as I stop the music. The producer is Klutz here. My brother, what is going on? I got your Facebook page up in the background here, and I'm going to bring you up on Zoom, because more of you and less of me is probably a good thing today. Where are you? Where'd you go? Hang on. There we go. You can do it, Jimmy. There we go. Good boy. Now I have to unmute myself. Oh, that always helps if I unmute myself. Now you can hear me. Then I ask you to unmute. I got your lips up. You should be good to go now. Brother, thanks for joining us today, man. All right, yeah, so the title says it all, man. Let's just, where'd my Zoom go? Let's get to it, man. Who are you? What happened? What's it all about? And how come nobody's picking up your story, man? I know that's a lot.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. So, my name's Corey Hagopian. I'm from southern Ontario in a town called St. Catharines, Ontario. I kind of grew up Roman Catholic, Christian type background. I grew up with a single mother as my parent when my dad passed away when I was a child. I come from an Armenian background. We when I was a kid, my country was in the USSR. I was born in Canada, but we were all raised to know what kind of overreach the government can do against their people and stuff. So basically when I was in school, I learned about Canadian history and stuff like everyone else. But to me, it meant something different to see these people in Canada who fought and died for their country and stuff. It was similar to the people that fought for our country back in Armenia. So I went to St. Catharines Collegiate, a school that's a vocational school. I learned different trades and stuff, and got into computer programming. That was one of my more favored classes. Went to school for programming at Niagara College. Eventually, I went to electronics. I switched over to, graduated, and eventually got into the non-destructive testing field, where I got certified as an ultrasonics tester for the Canadian government. So that's pipelines, boilers, and things like that, oil fields. So after doing that, I decided to move to Alberta, where all the jobs were in the field. And the first job that I got this year in that field was at a place called CNRL. It's an oil sand operation. It's one of the bigger ones up north. And they basically gave me a plane ticket and said, come on out here to work for us for 30 days is the jobs. I basically didn't know that I would be flying there. They didn't tell me till about 2 or 3 days before I had to be there, which seems to be after I've been talking to a few people, it seems to be the standard that they don't tell you till the day before. The problem with that is that you can't cancel it. So if you cancel your plane ticket, they charge you for it. So right off the bat, you're kind of like held up against the wall, like you have to go. And then, so when I found out I was going to a camp, I immediately asked if they were going to be COVID testing, because I don't believe in COVID medical treatment on people. They told me that they could not COVID test against my will. They said, we can't force you to COVID test. So I thought, like anyone else, it's a good paying job. I couldn't handle going and being at a camp for 30 days. People tell me all these horror stories about how dirty it is and stuff like that. But when you're there to work, you don't really care about that kind of stuff. So immediately when I got on the plane, I knew something was up, because the plane instructions said that we would be spaced apart, and the plane was just jam-packed with people. They were all coughing and sneezing and stuff like that. There was one guy in the plane who said, I think I have COVID, but I didn't tell anyone. My wife said just to shut up, and she gave me a bunch of halls, and so he said, yeah, I'm just not going to tell anyone. And everyone was laughing on the plane. We all thought it was kind of funny. And then as soon as I got to the place, they told us to check in with security, get your badges, get your luggage, and then we're going to line up for COVID testing. And I was like, I didn't even say anything, because I knew if I asked, I could tell that it was security asking and stuff. I could tell immediately that if I asked anything, they would force me. So I just kind of ducked away. I had my room number, my bags and everything. So I just went up to bed, snuck away. And then the next day they kind of asked me, they came to my room and said, did you COVID test? And I said, no, sorry. Like, I didn't get a chance to. It was late, and they had a huge lineup. They were closing at 8:00, and it was like 7:30 when I got there. So I'm just going to go today after work. And so I just hurried away to work and went and sat down in the training class. And one of the other gentlemen that I was training with, he also was against the COVID testing. And me and him both were kind of like, why do we have to COVID test? We asked if we had to do it. And then he said, the trainer guy, he was like, well, we can't, like, technically we can't force you to COVID test, but we can force you out of here. You can leave. So immediately I was kind of irate about that, the way they were treating it. And I kind of said, well, I'm just going to have to quit then. Like, just give me a plane ticket or a bus ticket and I'll get out of here. And he said, well, we're not going to give you any of that stuff, because you might have COVID, and this is somebody who's on their first day. I didn't have any symptoms. Just because I refused a COVID test, they assume you have COVID at these places. So they said, you're going to have to find your own way home. The problem with that is that there's no buses there. There's no Ubers or taxis or anything like that. And it's a 24-hour walk to the nearest town through the wilderness. And I said, this is ridiculous. Like,
the wilderness.
Then, yeah, if you leave too, they take the money for the plane ticket off your check. So that I would have to pay $700 for that plane ticket, even though they flew me there. So the whole site too is absolutely humongous. So to get to the end of the security gates is a 4.5-hour walk. So even just to get to the last security gate is a trek on its own. So I just accepted, I said, I'm just going to go get this test. I kind of protested, and the trainer guy said, I'm sick of hearing you cry about it. Go to talk to the nurse and see what she says. So I just kind of went and talked to the nurses, and they didn't really speak English. They were kind of like not able to understand my concerns and stuff. And I just kind of did it, one time I'll do it, that's it. And that was the problem that I had, is that I just kind of submitted with their pressure. So the first test was negative. They did it kind of wrong. They were only supposed to go in the nostril. They actually went right in the first time. Because at that time when they were doing it, the Alberta health system wasn't clear on how to do the tests. And it was kind of like none of the nurses knew what they were doing. It was all over the news and stuff. So then I went to work. I started working, and everything was fine. Everything was good. We were all working for about a week or two. Before the end of the first week, they started cutting our days off. They said, oh, we're preparing for the COVID evacuation that's going to happen, because the year before they said it happened. So they were like already preparing for us to have to go home for COVID. And they just like started saying, you know, we're going to have you guys go test once a week. And they started giving us all these forms that all the workers were calling snitch forms. It's like these papers with like 20 slots, and it has instructions if you see somebody not wearing their mask, or if somebody coughs, or even if they have their mask under their nose for more than 15 minutes, you're supposed to snitch on them. And that alone is enough to get you isolated. Even without testing, they'll isolate you just for that. And then basically, so no, all the supervisors said, don't put anyone's name on the snitch form, because everyone wanted to work and make money, you know? And then, so they said once a week, we're going to have to COVID test. And I protested that as well. I tried to get out of it. They just kept bugging me. And because they went so deep the first time, I was like, no, I'm not doing it. Like, you're nuts. But eventually, you know, they said, if you don't do it, we're going to kick you off the site. We're going to take the money for the plane ticket. So like for all the days I worked, they were going to take all my money away and not pay me and stuff. They're like, oh, we've been known to not pay employees, and good luck getting your money, kind of thing. So then basically I just did what they asked and just kept working and pretended that it wasn't really that bad or that big of a deal. At this point, the nurses, they were doing the proper in the nose kind of test, not deep. So it was once a week, then it was once every 72 hours before that week was over. Before that 72 hours was over, it was once every 48 hours, and then it was every day. And at that point, when they were testing us every day, everybody started testing positive. Nobody was sick. I didn't see a single sick person. The only person that was sick was this supervisor who was bragging about all his vaccines that he got. And he was just like completely bragging about it, shaming everybody. And he was the only one I saw that was sick. And so we all started testing positive one at a time. And when I tested positive, I said, you know what? I'm done with this place. I don't care if you take my money. I don't care if you don't give me a ride. I'm out of here. I'll walk through the forest. And then I kind of started filming them when they started threatening me with jail time, and I didn't have a choice. And I would submit. They're like, you're going to submit. You don't have a choice. You'll go to jail for 2 years. We've called the RCMP. They're on their way to get you. Like, just crazy stuff they were saying. So I just said, no, I don't care. I'd rather deal with the RCMP than deal with you guys, because they're actually police, and you're all volunteers and swab technicians and security guards. So just get me out of here. I know my rights. I learned my rights just basically from watching Chris Sky. Like, I always learned about the Charter of Rights and stuff. But Chris Sky really summed it up, what you have to say to these people, and it totally worked. They were scared. They didn't know what to say. They were kind of laughing at me and stuff. But once I packed up my bags, so basically I tested positive at the end of a shift. They called me about half an hour later when I was just about to eat dinner. And then they said, you have 10 minutes to pack up all your stuff. You're going to isolation. When they showed up at my door, within 10 minutes, they're ready to get you. I didn't even have time to pack my suitcase or anything. Like, a lot of my stuff, they just kept. They haven't given it back to me or anything. And then they said, come on, you can get your stuff later after you isolate for 14 days or whatnot. And you're going to be tested within the hour. So they totally steamroll you. And I noticed that when I was in the isolation center, they were doing that to everybody. People were coming in at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, or at like 4 or 5 in the morning. It was never like a time when you'd be like able to make decisions and stuff. Also, so they brought me outside. I said, no, I'm leaving. Point me to the gate. Show me where I have to go to get out of here. They would mess with me by pointing. They'd say, go to that gate over there. I'd walk to the gate. It was locked. Have to walk all the way back. They're laughing at me, say, that gate's locked. They're like, oh, well, I meant that gate over there. So walk all the way to this gate. Locked again. And then I said, I'm going to hop the fence, man. I'm just going to throw my bags over and jump over the fence. And they said, if you do that, you'll go to jail for 2 years. This is a federal defense site. If you climb the fence, it's a federal offense. They threw everything at me. You know, they said, you're going to have to do it. It's the law. You're going to go to jail. And yeah, so then basically security and the health team refused letting me leave. And after about 2 or 3 hours of them messing with me, my phone died, so I didn't have a map. because I had a bike trail that I had out on my phone to know where to walk, even though it was 24-hour walk straight. Like, I didn't care at this point. They were absolute crazy people. So then after I was exhausted, I, went to them and said, listen, you guys aren't telling me how to get out of here. You're not giving me the right advice and stuff. And now my phone's dead. I can't carry all these bags across 24 hours in the wilderness. Just take me to wherever you need me to go. And I'm going to charge my phone and call a lawyer. So they kind of like were nice to me after that. Here, sign these forms. Let's go. I signed the forms under duress. Like, I was completely exhausted and just mentally beat down. I was embarrassed for getting upset. Like, they held out as long as they could until I submitted. So then they said the guy's going to come and test you after 1 hour. I basically told the guy when he showed up, if you touch me with that test, I'm going to sue you, or worse. Like, I was ready to, hit the guy. And he said, no, we can't force you to do that. Here's a paper with your rights on it that they don't give to you unless you freak out and ask for it. So the paper that he gave me had all the different rights and choices that I had, that they told me I didn't have any choices. So one of them was to write to the AHS a plan that I would need to get approved to leave site on my own. And the number one thing was you had to be from Alberta. So all my friends who were from Newfoundland or people from BC even weren't allowed to leave right off the bat. There's no chance of them leaving. And then, basically, they just ignored my emails. They didn't answer me. Once they had me in isolation, they had me. The room was just filthy. There was like, people coughed on the desk beside the bed. I could still see the spit marks and stuff. And the bathroom had like waste on the floor, like human waste and stuff. And if they really believed that it was like people with COVID, they should have cleaned it, because I tested positive on the PCR test, which was not even accurate at all. I wasn't sick. I had no fever. It was just insane. So basically when I was in there too, they fed me different food than everybody because I wouldn't comply. And a lot of people would say like, oh, well, at least you got fed. Like, yeah, it's true. I did get fed. But, when they're feeding you just barley and coffee and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that are like stale and hard, it breaks you down mentally. And the whole time that I was there, they kept asking me to test. Like, oh, if you test, you'll be able to go back to work. And, it's going to shorten your time here if you just go test. And supervisors were calling me, and nurses, security guards, CEOs and stuff from CNRL were calling me and pretending to be other people. And the first 3 or 4 days, I didn't know what to do. I've never been in a situation like this, till eventually I got in contact with a lawyer who spoke to them for me and told me what to say, what to do. He told me to record everything. So I started recording every conversation and stuff. And basically they let me out after I started doing that, and just really being like, I need everything in writing. I'm recording you right now. You understand you're being recorded. Even sometimes he was on three-way calling with me, and he would be listening in while it was happening. So it was pretty intense. And then I knew that I was getting different food because my friend was in the camp next to me under isolation. He basically said, what's for dinner every day? And I would show him, because I got fed before him. I was in like A camp or whatever, and he was in B camp. So he would say, what did you get for dinner today? What are we having? And I would send him pictures, and he'd be like, dude, like, I can't keep eating this stuff, And then when his food would arrive, he'd be like, they must not like you, man. And then he would send me pictures of steak and potatoes and stuff. And I was just so mad. He'd get chocolate bars and stuff and chips. It was just ridiculous.
Dude, what a story. Talk to me. How are you feeling from all this? I don't know you that well, but I mean, this, how's it impacted you? How are you feeling? Like, I mean, how's it affected your way of being now at all?
Oh, totally.
Yeah?
I feel like completely emotionless now. Like, me and my girlfriend are kind of having problems because, I'm not here. I'm like, I feel numb. If she tries to rub my shoulders, I can't even feel it, it's like I'm not sleeping, I'm not eating well. It's really affected me. Like I've had post-traumatic stress in the past from witnessing a violent crime about 15, 20 years ago. And I've been fine ever since. I took all these kind of courses and stuff to help me when I was younger, but it's totally re-triggered these symptoms and stuff of like nightmares every day. Like they didn't beat me up or anything. I didn't see anything violent, but just losing my freedoms like that. And being somebody who knows my rights and somebody who doesn't take this kind of treatment from anybody that knows me knows that I don't take authority very well unless it's proper authority, you know, like if it's, you know, a fireman says you have to get out of this house, it's on fire, I'm not going to get mad at him, you know. But so when I like look out my window, I see the apartment across and it's lined up like all these windows. It kind of I'll get in a trance just staring at it, thinking I'm in the place. And you know, a lot of the foods they fed me in there, I can't even stomach. Like they gave, one of the treats that I had was bananas. They would give me a banana and it's like, you know, even if it's kind of going bad, I still kind of like them. I can't even stand, like my girlfriend brought me bananas and I can't even eat them, you know. Another thing too is any drafts that come in the door, because I was in there with actual sick people. I don't know much about medical stuff, but if you hear someone coughing and spitting, you know, you don't want to share the same air as them. So I blocked they gave us these biohazard bags too. It's all your garbage has to go in these biohazard bags. So they make you feel like you're a leper from the second you get there. I tore up the bags and I used them to stuff in the vents and stuff so that I wouldn't have air circulated with all these sick people. And even at home now, I'm finding myself, if I feel a draft, it's like I go and stuff a blanket under the door or like stuff that's like just kind of crazy, you know. It has really affected me negatively. I just don't know the extent of it yet. But and then also like now I just have total mistrust for our government. Like the fact that they could do that to somebody who doesn't want to be there and refuses against their rights to leave, and then them get away with it too. Like it's just sad.
What's next moving forward?
So basically I have contacted some human rights lawyers. I've been in contact with about, 20 different lawyers trying to get help while I was in there. A lot of them couldn't help me because they're either, criminal lawyers or whatever. I don't know much about the law. But I did get in contact with the JCCF. There's some human rights lawyers out of Calgary that do these kind of cases. And they're basically doing all the work for me. And I sent them all my evidence. I have lots of recordings and emails and texts and videos, just tons of evidence I have. All the forms they gave me, I kept and handed them all over. And the last time I spoke to them, they said that I'm not the only person that's coming forward with this. There's about 6 or 7 other people that are involved in this case. And so basically what I'm trying to do is get in contact with as many people who have been through this or who are going through it right now. And if they don't know what to do or they don't know how to get out like I did, then I need them to contact me because I know exactly what to say now, exactly what to do. I know the lies that they tell you. I know the stuff that's true. And the RCMP, they told me they couldn't arrest me. They said I could have taken a bus anytime because they said if you get on a bus, you're flagged now. And if you get on the bus, you're going to go to jail for 2 years just for taking a bus. So like I was going to leave the first day and just hop on a bus as soon as I could, like the 24-hour walk, get on a bus and go home. But I was so scared and my family was scared. My mom was scared. Everyone was telling me, don't do it. Bears are going to eat you. The wolves are going to eat you. And being from Southern Ontario, like I don't really deal with wildlife too much, but I spoke with these hunters who said, the bears are more scared of you than anything out here because of all the construction and stuff. They don't want to mess with humans. Like there's isolated cases where they do attack humans, but it's mostly because you've fed them so many times and you've interacted with them. But if they just see you walking through, they're terrified of you. So all the security guards said, it's a death sentence if you go through there. But basically I've been trying to contact with as many people as I can.
Right.
A lot of the people don't want to speak out and they just comply because they're afraid of losing their jobs and stuff. But the thing is I lost my job as soon as I refused the test. And the other girl who I helped get out of there, she did everything that she was supposed to. The only thing was that she didn't want to stay there, so they let her go. But she got blacklisted as well, and she did everything they asked. So they said she might have a new variant. That's a 90-day variant, so that she can't work there for another 90 days. And then they told me that I had a medical site suspension, and after that would last for the pandemic. But then they told me in the same sentence, they said, but after this pandemic is over, we're not going to hire you back. You're not allowed to come back here. And then after that, I got let go from my jobs I had lined up. I had jobs for May to July and August to October. And both those companies contacted me and said, we don't want you at our site because you refused the COVID test, which they got around discrimination because I work for a contracting company that hires me out to these people.
Okay.
So both of them,
name the employer.
They got their butts covered.
Name the employer again.
So I worked for CNRL, Canadian National Resources Limited, and my company that I worked for was called Acuren, and they've blacklisted me too now. So like I was on good terms with them, but now now they've blacklisted me. So
I want to get back to more of the blacklisting if you can go into a little bit more detail about it. But first, what is it about the mask that you're opposed to? Or sorry, not the mask, the test. Like you said, they didn't know how to give them, and I get that she was doing it incorrectly if they're going too deeply. But what's your what's your problem with getting tested or getting swabbed in the first place?
So when I was a child, I had surgery on my sinuses and my throat. It's kind of the reason I have kind of like a weird voice. I had a different voice before, and my throat, and I had tonsils out, my adenoids out, and I had some surgery on my sinuses. I'm not too sure exactly what they did, but I have a large cavity in my face, and it clots on its own without any intervention. I get extreme clotting. Sorry, there's kind of like somebody cleaning in the hallway.
You're all good, man.
But, so I get clotting that has hospitalized me twice in the last probably 10 years. And the doctors told me that it could kill me at any time. Like, it's such a bad problem that I literally could just die one day from it. So I don't like having anything on my throat, in my nose. And when I told them that, they said they would do a throat swab, which like I also didn't agree to. That's also why I don't like wearing a mask, because I'm also prone to sinus infections. And basically when the first girl did the test and she did it really deep, I started bleeding the next morning. I bled profusely, like a cup full of blood. I went down to tie my shoes and it was just like, and I said that would happen before I got the test. That was the initial reason I was protesting, because I didn't want to bleed. And then I bled for probably 3 days afterwards. It just was like a slow bleeding. And my sinuses haven't been the same ever since. Like, yeah, that's basically why I don't like wearing masks or the swab.
Dude, I'm sorry. I hate to laugh, but this seems like an absolute, like a nightmare from beyond. Like, you can't write this stuff. This is stranger than fiction, man. This like, I don't know. I mean, you seem like a legit guy. I was introduced to you from a friend that I trust. And I just find myself, even when you're talking about your PTSD, and I'm sorry, man, I just don't mean to minimalize it, but all I'm left with is this stupid grin on my face because can't believe what I'm hearing when you're telling the story.
Yeah, I know it's kind of a tragic comedy. You know, I have a good sense of humor with stuff. So when this stuff happens to me, which my whole life has been kind of tragic, when my father passed away at a young age is really when I got a true taste of what life is all about. So it's been rough. But I mean, I'm kind of a strong-willed individual, and I just kind of gone through everything and just kept going, laced my boots, get back to work kind of thing. So yeah, I appreciate, like, you know, I understand it's like when people are like, oh my God, and they kind of laugh and stuff. I understand, because life is a tragic comedy, you know.
We've got a guest that's joined us. Danielle, thank you. Have you got your lips up yet? I can't see. Can I hear you? Checking in. There you are. Yeah, no, we hear you. Hey, thank you for jumping on. I didn't know, but this kid is so fond of you. I must say I am as well. You're one of the what I refer to as the three queens. Bad description, but you'll take it because you're not on social media, so you can't defend it yourself. I can say whatever I want about you anonymously, but you hooked me up with this guy, and he's really grateful and fond of you for like helping him out. And I had you touch him up again last night. Comment on like what's going on here, man. I'm blown away by it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is. It's really crazy. We hear these stories, and it's like you're describing a movie that you saw, and it's hard not to laugh at the absurdity of it, but then you get hit with the reality of it, and it's like, this is really scary. It's really messed up, and we've been inundated with this entertainment of World War II. It's not real to us. It's entertainment. We think of these things as exciting the way you think of wanting to be like a Hardy Boy. And so you hear about these things and it's like, wow, cool. Like you went through that. And it's like, no, it's not cool. And it's like, oh, good. People are hearing your story. And it's like, well, I'd rather not have the story to tell. So it's totally scary. And yeah, I feel for Corey, and I think he's really brave for coming out and saying these words and saying the name of this employer. And it's really messed up what our government has allowed, just the fact that these resource companies who owns them, that they're just like, oh, you sign up for work? Yeah, now you're a slave. Like, it's really messed up that the government doesn't step in. They're not knowing what's going on in these places, obviously. And I'm sure there was bad practices before all this, and they use COVID as a big excuse. And it's not enough that you say, like, I have rights, or I don't want you sticking something up my nose. Like, it's really, you don't even know what to say about it.
Corey, tell us a little bit more about moving forward. Have you got any actionable recourse at all on the province, the government, the corporations? Do you have any legal recourse at all?
So I believe I do. All the forms that they made me sign, for example, when I got to site, because my friend got me the job, they didn't give me the proper employee orientation. They kind of did an on-the-fly orientation, and I didn't actually sign the COVID forms until after I was already tested. As well as the day that I signed the isolation forms, I was under extreme duress, and I recorded the whole thing. So they basically kind of did it illegally and impromptu at the last minute. I was also told by my lawyers that even if I signed stuff about going to isolation or agreeing to the COVID testing, because I made the statement that I refuse and I quit, they basically have no right to force me to do anything. Another thing too was that when I wrote the email for the approval to leave, they actually gave it to me on the 16th, but I was approved to leave on the 12th, and the email stated that the one nurse withheld it from me, and I called every single day trying to find out when I could leave, and they basically just lied to me to keep me there. And I do believe that they're making money off of this. From feeding us, they make money because everything you have to sign forms to say that you want food, and then they collect all the forms, and I believe that they're handing it in like an invoice, and I think that's why they're also getting paid to test. They're part of the pilot project for the Alberta health system, where they've given them like 400,000 tests or something, and they're just sitting around waiting to test everybody.
How about the media coverage? Since this has gone down, I know you've talked to a couple independent podcasters maybe. I think you have been vocal since. Are you celebrating freedom in some of these, for lack of a better term, protests against lockdowns and stuff like that? But tell me specifically, before we get into that, how's mainstream media hasn't tried to pick this up at all? Has anyone knocked on your door at all? Have you even looked for it?
So I did message a few news sources, and I know a bunch of my friends have reached out when I was in the camps trying to get a hold of people like Rebel News and CBC and CBS and stuff like that. But no one has actually come forward. I was told that people from Rebel News were coming to get me out numerous times. They said, they're coming to get you, kid. Today there's a convoy coming, and then no one would show up. When I got in touch with people like...
Who were you talking to at Rebel?
Pardon me?
Who were you talking to at Rebel that was giving you false hope?
So I don't really know much about Rebel News, so I don't know the people that are involved, but I spoke to mayors and stuff who were like, I'm contacting Sheila Gunn Reid. Okay. What was the other guy's name? I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but they said, she's over in the town next to you, she's coming to get you, this and that. And they just never showed up. The actual people that came and rescued me, I thought were with Rebel News. They were just my Facebook friends, just people, strangers I don't even know. I had to trust them to go to my house, get my car keys from my girlfriend, and drive my personal vehicle all the way to Fort McKay where I was being held. And I've never met these people. I was only Facebook friends with them for about a day or two. But they would call me every single day, and they would keep my spirits up. They kept saying, you're going to get out of there. We're going to get you out of there. Tomorrow's the day. Tomorrow's the day. And it was just really nice people that I didn't even know. And now they're like my family. Like, I love these people. They don't want to be named though, because of their own personal reasons. But, they really went all I had to do was pay the gas. So, but it was a gamble, they were asking me for my ownership of my car and stuff. When you hand over your ownership, it's kind of like, uh-oh. But I had no other choice. Put my girlfriend's life in danger, my whole livelihood in danger, and my way out in danger. But so Rebel News, they still haven't contacted me back. And CBC, CBS, they haven't even contacted me back. When I actually got in touch with somebody from Rebel News, they said they were checking the facts. And that was all I got from them.
Danielle, I'd like you to weigh in on what type of abuses you see here against this guy. Like, even just the assault of the swab going too deep. What else? What human rights have been violated here? Do you have a list of charter infractions, subsection by subsection, that have been?
You think it's basically all of them? It would be all of our fundamental freedoms, and it would be unlawful detainment, and you're allowed to refuse medical treatment, let alone a test. You could have your leg broken and refuse a cast. You could be bleeding out and refuse a Band-Aid. And so to think that you can't refuse anything else is just it's a crime. And what's crazy too is I brought up Corey in my delegation. And none of those counselors took a moment to ask. I was grilled on my credibility, but nobody said, well, hold on a second. You mentioned that someone from St. Catharines within our region was detained. Can you elaborate on that?
Wow.
So it's not even just like your personal rights when these things are happening to you, but also like the right to be heard. And the freedom of the press who won't go near this. So that's being infringed upon too, is the freedom of the press, because they don't want anyone to know any of this. And that's why they need to give the media more money right now. So I haven't gone over right by right with Corey on what's gone down, but it's very obvious when you go to a job, you should be able to refuse unsafe work. And if you're telling me in order to receive a paycheck, I got to stick this thing up my nose, and you have no safety data on that, like you can't, and you can't even prove that it's the actual infection. They don't even distinguish between, we found a particle of a virus up inside your nose versus you have an infection of that virus. Two very, very, very different things. It's just really scary. I don't know what to say.
All right. I don't know what to say either. It sounds like a good time to kind of wrap it up. I want to wrap it up with something hopeful, though. Like, I'm listening to Anthony Cumia. McKinnis starts doing a weekly live thing with Cumia. I don't know what he did before. Anthony, and what was the show? I don't know. They were a big hit. I like Anthony Cumia, but he's an old school old language applies, and they start doing this Wednesday night live thing was compound censored. Whatever. Where am I going? Oh, and he says to Gavin at the end of the show, dude, do you have any optimism left? And you could hear in Anthony's voice like he's devastated by the state. And I try to think, in the 60s we had Vietnam and some really wacky stuff was going down, and we were way more racist back then, and we actually had, segregation and some stupid, crazy things. The KKK actually had influence back then, We don't have anything like that today, but this today is a new type of scary. And when he asked Gavin on the way out, you could tell he was defeated, because Gavin's like, yep. And he's like, okay. He says, that's what you always say when I say I'm hopeful. I struggle with my hope. I want to hear from you. Like, where do you see a silver lining in all this craziness? Because it's identity politics, it's infringement of the liberties, it's lockdowns, it's suicides. It's controlling the narrative. We see it locally here. A friend of mine crystallized it perfectly between Walter Senzik, the chief of the NRP, all of their mainstream media, supposedly responsible media, and government with the region and people like we've talked about on the show. Well, you see what's going on in my face. Well, you don't. You're not on there. But it's crazy the level of 5-year-oldness we've succumbed to. And tell me there's something like this. We're all going through this. We're all just training for a bigger battle. It's all in God's plan. There's a meaning for this. So something good is going to come out of it. What is it? Danielle, you're first.
Well, it's the truth. It's that pimple you pop, and then the next day it's way bigger. And you got to pop it again and pop it again. That's where we're at. And people like Corey, who even faced with all that, even faced with rotten food and they tried to break him, and he just kept saying no, and he stuck with it. That gives me hope. People who say, you know what, this is weighed upon my conscience enough, and I'm not gonna go for this anymore, and I'm not gonna give in, and I'm not gonna give in. I know Corey's not gonna give in. It gives me a lot of hope that people come forward. And that people are waking up. And right now, they don't have the enforcement. Okay, they don't have it. They are relying on us to enforce it upon ourselves. Right. We put on the mask. We stay home. All of these things. Has anyone gotten their Victoria Cross for all the lives they've saved? I haven't.
I will add on to that my own, as you're preach, girl. As you're talking, I'm saying yeah. I refuse to believe that even though so many people are indoctrinated now into a false narrative that are not doing their own research, are just falling in line, breaks my heart. I hate to keep saying that, but I really suffer from it because I love people, and I hate to see them masking children. I hate to see them buying into lies like white cops are indiscriminately hunting black men in the States. It breaks my heart that anyone could believe all of that. So, but I refuse to believe that they're that far gone that a year from now they'll look back on their own personal experience and actually see some real stats, and go, it hasn't affected my life all that much. In fact, the lockdowns, I know more suicide victims from lockdowns than I do victims of COVID. I have a couple people that told me quietly off the record that they had it. They've since come public about it. But, I mean, one of my friends works in public health. She's recovered from COVID, tested positive, had a few days of not so great symptoms. And here's the other thing. 50% of us that get COVID don't know we get it. We're asymptomatic or naturally immune. It's just like West Nile. Nobody was talking about the fact that 80% of the people that got West Nile virus showed no symptoms. You didn't even know you had it. Anyway, now I'm rambling. Where was I going? Oh, yeah, I refuse to think that the humans are that far gone that they won't, excuse me, be able to look back and realize that the impact on their life has been nothing, not even like zero. And then the lockdown measures, the hysteria, right down to we're seeing some scary shit like shedding of vaccines with women's cycles are like, I'm not a guy that gets hooked on conspiracies, but some of the stuff is insane.
The statistics on miscarriage will be horrifying, and we will see that also in population when, you know, if schools are around, when we see that enrollment for those couple of years where there's just they don't have it.
Anyways, that's more the negative. I want to say that I refuse to believe that like people's lived experience will finally be what rules their life moving forward, and you might get a little bit more of this to the man, because the man doesn't know what's best for me.
Corey, when I met you, we were out front of the Niagara region last year, and I believe that was the second time we were out. So the first time we were out, there was about 30 of us, I would say. The second time when I met Corey, I believe there was about 100. That was not quite a year ago. It was in the summer. Well, now we're going out. I mean, Jim Fannon, you can attest that we went from 100 people to maybe 1,500, 1,800, 2,000. So we're seeing that now where people have just had enough, and the weather is nice. They want to be outside. They feel good. We haven't had an outbreak related to us or anything like that. I'm out there living my life. I'm not dead. You guys aren't dead. I haven't had a sniffle. Actually, if anyone knows where I could get a sniffle, let me know. I can't find one.
You can buy one for the right price. Sniffles are for sale everywhere. Corey, just on the way out, I really appreciate you, one, for being vulnerable. I could see the emotion in your speech, man. It's like, but on the other hand, you know, if I'm playing devil's advocate, before I get your message of hope, let me just say, what do you got to say for the people like, oh, fuck this guy, he's been looking for attention his whole life? Or like, seriously. And you know, I didn't know the PTSD thing, man. That's serious business, man. I don't understand that, because I don't think I suffer from that, not at a severe level anyways. So that's huge. I didn't know that your medical condition actually gives you every reason in the world not to stick a Chinese 6-inch swab into your brain cavity, for lack of a better term, you know? So, but just as devil's advocate, I'm not coming from that angle, obviously, but, you know, maybe there's the people out there that'll say, nah, this guy's just looking to get picked up by, get a story out or whatever. Activist, you know?
A lot of people have said that kind of stuff to me. There's a lot of naysayers who, like, they say, you know, I've worked at this place for 20 years before in the past, and it was bad, but it was never anything like that. I'm the last person that I would think this would happen to. Literally, Danielle, when she met me, and when we got in contact with each other, we kind of laughed. We said, how the heck did this happen to you? And basically what I have to say to those people is that, you know, I went through it, and I don't want anyone else to go through it. That's the only reason, the only motivation I have is what they made me feel like in there, knowing my rights and not wanting people to be taken advantage of. So these people who deny me and say anything, I give them my email address and I say, if you ever get in these camps, contact me and I'll drive there myself and get you out. Like, that's basically my stance, is we have to come together. And then for the message of hope kind of thing is, you know, I went to my first rally. I've never spoken. I'm not someone who's in the limelight. I don't even like pictures of myself being taken. Like, for me to be on an interview face to face with somebody on video is absolutely horrifying for me. But the drive that I have to get this message out is worth more than anything I've ever done in my life. And basically, I've been, you know, contacted by numerous people who are in the same position. They validate me by saying, you know, I got goosebumps from hearing your story because it's the exact same thing I went through, but I was too scared to lose my career. I was too scared to, you know, come out and have repercussions. And basically, I'm just getting out there to tell you, know, that these are empty threats that they're doing. Like, you might lose your career, you might get blacklisted, but you're not going to be working anyways if you get isolated. They don't pay you for isolation. And then, like my friend Ashley, who, she lost her job anyways. You know, she did everything they asked and she still lost her job. And you know, I've got friends who stay in the camps just because they don't know how to cook and they want they want free food every day. Like, that's the kind of mindset that these people have that are compliant. When it comes down to it, where they're going to force, like, say, a vaccine or whatever they're going to do, even like ventilators they might, put on you. If it comes to that, man, like, I'm willing to come and get anybody at any time to rescue them. And I don't care what happens to me or what kind of nefarious publicity I get. I don't really mind, because there's always 100 people that are telling me, good for you, good job. This is what we need. We need people to come out. And when I spoke at the rally, every single person there already knew me. This is my first time in public. Everybody knew me. Everyone knew my story. And they all kind of like talked to me about their lives and and it's just being surrounded by intelligent people who have the same kind of mindset, and they're open-minded, and it's just an amazing feeling to be surrounded by these people. And it's more and more every day that are waking up to this. And it was just absolutely amazing. Like back in Ontario, like Danielle said, there's so many people that are speaking up. Out here in Alberta, it's only like 20 or 30 people. So I hope that when I go out there and talk, that it's, going to help people kind of wake up to this. But yeah, my thing is that, stories like mine and other people who go through stuff like this, like Chris Guy getting arrested and stuff, it's opening people's eyes. Slowly but surely, people are waking up. And that's really all I care about. I don't get paid for this. I don't get any kind of like monetary gain. I actually am working as a pizza delivery guy now when I have like all these degrees and stuff. So it hasn't been good for me at all. So yeah, basically I'm free to help anybody at any time. That's just kind of who I am. So.
Oh, Danielle's going to cry. Me too. What? No, I mean, seriously, that is a pretty emotional story. And I didn't spend enough time with you to get all the details on it. But when you hit on the PTSD, man, it's heartbreaking that you could be triggered in that way, and that our own government would not step in, and that the media wouldn't report on it. I mean, that's not so surprising, I guess, if you know what the media is like.
Well, they don't have the funds, right? Right, Jim? They don't have the funds. And that's why Chair Bradley so graciously is going to write a letter, to get them some money.
Mm-hmm. All right, brother. How can everyone get a hold of you? And I don't think you don't have a GoFundMe or anything like that. I don't know. Maybe you should start something like that. I know that's not kind of your style, but you're going to have some lawyers' fees that you got to pay for. No, I mean, as you keep rolling here, people are going to want to know how they can send you some coin, even if it's for dinner or something. I'd like to buy you a beer. Here's $10. Here's a case. You know what I mean? I don't know if you're a drinking man, but. Yeah, how can people get a hold of you if they want to touch you up or give you some love or support you in any way, I guess?
So basically, I don't have any kind of fundraisers or anything. I've been keeping track. People have given me donations for gas to get to these rallies because it is kind of like a far drive. I've been kind of taking the hit myself with my own money. I did make a few bucks working there for the 2 weeks. It's kind of a high-paying job, but you can get a hold of me at my personal email. I give that out willingly. It's my last name and my first name at gmail.com. So it's HAGOPIANCOREY at gmail.com. And, I don't really want any donations, but if people want to donate, I don't drink or do drugs or anything. I don't smoke. So basically I just kind of,
see, good lad. I knew he was a good lad.
I just kind of stockpile it and keep it all recorded, and I keep all my receipts for gas and stuff. And, once I reach a certain limit, like people gave me $300 for gas. I use $150 of that to get to Calgary kind of meetings and rallies and stuff. And now I'm just kind of focusing on the Edmonton scene just because I don't want to use all the money for only one or two protests. So I'm using it to get to like different ones in Edmonton and for ones I'm speaking at, and I go meet and greet people, and because I'm just trying to find other people that are in the same position as me. And people can also email me at that email. It's my personal email address for anyone who's stuck. Like I get all these tips all the time from whistleblowers, and so far they've all been correct. It's insane. People don't believe me when I share them, but then when the day comes where they're going to do this at this day, it actually happens. So I appreciate everyone's reaching out to me, and have so many Facebook friends now that are all open-minded. But yeah, just basically, I tried to start a Patreon where I was gonna like do videos and stuff, but the second I finalized it, I got banned off of Facebook, Instagram, Patreon.
Wow,
Like,
nice.
seconds,
Good,
totally
man.
banned.
Oh, so you've been sent. Really? Did they take a YouTube
I
account
got
from you
most
too?
of them back.
Did you? Okay, good.
Yeah, I got most of them back.
Wow.
But even my Indeed got erased, my resumes and everything. It was really strange. So I had to start a new Indeed, right? I have backups of it, so it wasn't that hard, but it was crazy.
Wow. You're a hero, man. Roddy says, oh, for heaven's sakes, write your email on a piece of paper and hold it up to the camera so we can catch it. We'll put it in the remarks. Todd. Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate the time. I don't know that we've left anything out here. We've gone at it from all angles. Danielle, I appreciate you coming into your conversation on it as well. And moving forward, I wish you the best of luck, brother. I don't know what else.
Thank
Maybe
you so much.
if there's
thanks for having me. It's just about the message and getting everyone together. So I appreciate everyone. All the people who come to the protests, they're all heroes in my eyes. I just went through it. I'm just preventing other people from going through it, that's the real heroes, man.
I never really said I had anything to protest, but I'm getting kidnapped on Saturday, and I think I'm appearing at my second one this year. I emceed the first one. I got some love letters from Michelle Brown yesterday, Danielle. Yeah, some little green love letters. Yep. Oh, well, what can you do? At least I got the paper now, finally, because anyway. Brother, I love you. Thank you for the time. Good luck. If you want to get picked up if you got a new development, I'm really interested in your lawsuit moving forward, and if more people are jumping on board, how they can help out, or how, even better, if you've been affected, if you're a victim or a target of this type of behavior by your company, man, get a hold of my man. So Danielle, thank you for the hookup. I appreciate that. Love you too. And I'm just going to sign off now by saying goodbye to everyone else. As we say goodbye, I say goodbye to you as well. Adieu, adieu. Anything else you want to say before we go? Anyone? They're all mum. This is when you say, oh yeah, I know, you got a rant. Here's my speech. Okay, I love you too. Peace. Get off my computer. I'm out of here. End meeting for all. Later, bro. That's how you do that. My thanks to the kids who came out today. That was Corey, Hagopian. Hagopian. He says it's more like a Hagopian. What the hell, man? Like, seriously? So let me tell you a little bit about my friend Corey, Alexander Hagopian. Let's just cruise his feed and see how much of an activist this kid is, all right? I agree with all this stuff, though. That's the problem. Banned from, it's a little paranoia, probably. Not really banned. So my Facebook's been acting up, too, but I don't usually go to the bad thing, right? Well, maybe I'm full of shit. In a world of Smiths, be a Neo. Love it. What's this? That's probably some outrage I'm not a conspiracy theorist. You're a fucking idiot. Like, in real time, I'm stalking my man's wall. We're new friends. And I have a few open spaces now since the massive purge that Laura Yip caused me yesterday by, 5? What else we got here? Time to rise up, Canada. I support this. That's Captain Tony. I would have shared it if it would have been your thing, but I don't know who that guy is. I'm not sharing his stuff. Interview pizza 19 hours ago. Being given papers so that I can travel without police interference is oddly reminiscent of things I read about in history class. Not to mention, he's Armenian. I think they went through a quiet genocide. So, I don't know. That was my guy. What do you think? I don't know. Thank you, Danielle, for the hookup. I thought that was really cool. You thinking of me? Here we go. Meme. Yeah, we're holding your hair, babies. We're holding your hair. You come around. Oh, I forgot to tell him, do not reference Chris Sky. You want to reduce all your credibility? Tell everyone that Chris Sky's a friend of yours, or do you look up to him, or he kind of course, I'm being tongue-in-cheek, but you get what I mean. Chris Sky is a freedom fighter. Okay, so I guess I got to come back out here tonight for a Jim Fannon Show. Well, because that's what I do Thursday nights. And I guess, you know, Laura Yip will be on my lips because, well, what a better place for Laura Yip to be than on my lips. After 208 comments edited to add, can you believe, you know, the purge is on. So even though I did enough broadcasting for today, and I think I did a 14-hour broadcast yesterday. I turned that Joe Biden speech into a 14-hour epic loop of want some. Yeah, I played all night. It's cool. So I guess we'll hit this tonight. We have the video. We have the receipts. Your comments did not go unnoticed, Laura, before you took it down. Oh, yes, the defamation, the libel that you were responsible for generating on your wall because you can't put it away. You can't put it down. You can't say no to the media. Man, I feel sorry for you, dude. Anyway, yeah, the purge is on. Anyway, hello, Scott Chamberlain. Always just something genius. Water seeks its own level. Thanks for scumming out. Scumming out? Yeah, thanks for scumming out. All right. Oh, it's 1:02. I've done nothing with my day today. But that was a pretty solid interview. What do you think? Come on. And Saturday, I'm being kidnapped and taken downtown for 1 p.m. Memorial Park. Yep, right at the foot of the new $100 million going bridge. Right beside 610 CKTB. Call now. 905-688-2582. That's 688-2582. Straight down the middle of the dial if you've got the touch-tone phone. It's 905-688-2582. Right down the middle of the dial. And now, what do we go out with? Want some? I could do it. You're going to have to ask, though. All right, peace. Love. Now, take that mask off. Go out. Knock on your neighbor's door. Give him your digits. Go, dude. We don't talk that often. Here's my number. Anything goes wrong, you got a friend in me. I'm right next door. I'll come running. Then, give him a nice hug. Make sure you got no mask on. I am out. right now.